In every game, there's bound to be a Pokemon you never used before, whether it's because they're ugly, or really ugly, or ugly. Nah, I'm just kidding. Maybe they're not strong enough, they're overrated, their moveset is trash, or maybe just not a fan of the type. There's a whole bunch of reasons for not using Pokemon, and today's the day where I use Pokemon I never used before in Leaf Green. Now, believe it or not, I never really used Charmander before. Now, I probably have used it. Maybe, I don't know, my memory is pretty bad. But I almost always use Squirtle or Bulbasaur, simply because I just like their design more. So as you can imagine, I picked Charmander and named him Tangerine. After doing a little side quest, we can go to Viridian Forest where we catch a Pikachu that we named Lime. Now you might be thinking, you never used a Pikachu before? No. Why would I? When I can get a Jolteon, it looks way cooler than a Pikachu. Does it know any electric moves? No. But who cares? I can teach it Shockwave and Shockwave. It's fine. Don't worry about the small stuff. Anyways, we make it to Pewter City where we go straight to the gym and face Brock. This is how it went. I sent out Tangerine and used Metal Claw while we get hit with Tackle. We go back and forth, but he didn't do nearly as much as I did, so we eventually take him down. What's even better is that we got a boost on that last Metal Claw, so Onix should be easier to fight. He sends out Onix and I use Metal Claw while he missed a Rock Tomb. It must be my lucky day because I also get a crit Metal Claw KOing Onix. Moving on to Mount Moon, we look for a Clefairy that took a long time actually. It took like 40 minutes and it turns out it was a 1% encounter. Like how? I swear I ran into these things so many times in the past, but the moment I need it, it never shows up. Crazy. After a while, we find one and name her Lemon. The reason why I never used one was simply because I didn't want to. I didn't think this Pokemon was anything special, so I kind of thought of it like a Rattata. I mean, it's there, but I'll just go about my day. But I wonder if this thing is any good. And I wasn't too sure how to feel at first. Once we get out of the cave and see the two karate people just standing there, I thought to myself, I never taught my Pokemon Mega Punch or Mega Kick before. Why not today? So I teach Mega Punch to Clefairy and oh boy, this was fun. Because I spammed that move a lot throughout this video. We fight Red and maybe, just maybe, Lime was a bit underleveled because we get taken out by 2 quick attacks, but at least we get the paralysis. I send out Lemon and we use 2 pounds to KO. He sends out Squirtle and it gets rough. He only used 2 withdrawals, but that was enough. Mega Punch wasn't doing nearly as much as it did before, so we put it asleep and I switch into Tangerine and spam Scratch and Ember. And I know he's not going to stand a chance when Squirtle wakes up, so might as well try to do as much damage as possible. And yeah, it was short-lived because he woke up not too long after and took out Tangerine with 2 water guns. But we can still make this work as long as we land a scene. Yeah, we're not fast enough and get hit with a crit water gun, losing the match. Well, that was a flop. After leveling up, we try again. This time we were able to take down Pidgeotto using Thundershock and Quick Attack. He sends out Rattata and we switch into Tangerine and use 2 Embers to KO. He sends out Squirtle and uses 3 withdrawals while we kept attacking until we eventually go down. I send out Lemon and use Sing and then switch into Lime to knock it out with Thundershock. But he immediately wakes up and KOs. That was whack. I send out Lemon and we spam Mega Punch, finally knocking it out. After that, we slap up Abra with a Mega Punch, getting the win. I gotta say, Mega Punch, low-key, one of my favorite moves right now. Now that we have access to the Nugget Bridge, there's this area with a patch of... Jesus Christ, what happened? Now that we have access to the Nugget Bridge... that was funny, okay. Now that we have access to the Nugget Bridge, there's this area with a patch of grass where we can get our next Pokemon, Bellsprout, that we named Yuzu. So the reason why I never used one before was simply because it was a grass type. If it wasn't my starter Pokemon, I never really put a grass type on my team, and ever since I started to do challenges, I take what I can get. Plus, I actually think Victory Bell is cool, and James had one, so it's pretty cool. With that, we face Misty, and with 2 Vine Whips, we KO Staryu. She sends out her last Pokemon, Starmie, and unfortunately, Yuzu is slower, so we get hit with a Swift doing massive damage. But we can say the same because we hit a crit Vine Whip. Next turn, we get taken out with another Swift. I send out Lime, and again we are slower, getting hit with a water pulse, almost taking us out. But we live with 9 HP and land a Thunder Shock to get the win. One thing I realized is that Lime is way too fragile, and if I didn't have Yuzu, I probably would have struggled a bit more. I can honestly say I'm not a fan of Lime right now, but we gotta see it through. Maybe I'll change my mind. On the SSN, we fight Red again, and we were mopping the floor at first, not having much trouble at all. I mean, Lime went down, but that's not new. But when War Turtle came out, I was getting whooped so hard I thought I lost. He sets up a withdrawal and I put it to sleep and then switch into Yuzu, but he automatically wakes up and we flinch and we don't end up doing much at all. So after Yuzu goes down, I send out Lemon, but he withdraws so much that Mega Punch doesn't do much at all, eventually getting knocked out as well. All I had left was Tangerine, and we somehow live a water gun and land a scratch to KO. Man, I got whooped so bad, I can't even lie. But we still won, so we'll take it. Now let's head over to Lieutenant Surge, where honestly, this is probably the worst fight you'll ever see. Not because I got whooped, but the plays that were made and just overall was bad. I spammed Vine Whip so many times that we made him use a potion and land one more Vine Whip before going down to a tackle. I send out Tangerine and get hit with a Sonic Boom and then Shockwave doing massive damage before I was able to take it down with 2 Embers. He sends out Pikachu and I land Ember before getting hit with a Thunder Wave. So next turn we can't move and we get taken out with Shockwave. So I send out Lime and use Quick Attack to KO. He sends out his last Pokemon Raichu and uses Thunder Wave while we use Tail Whip. Next turn they use Double Team while we land our own Thunder Wave, but he just uses a full heal and then Paralysis makes it so that we can't move. After that, we did land the Thunder Wave again, but he kept spamming Double Team and we just kept missing, whether it was because he used an insane amount of Double Teams or we were paralyzed. This took forever, only landing like 2 to 3 Quick Attacks before going down to a Quick Attack. We sent out Lemon and we used Mega Punch, winning the fight, and man, I do not want to talk about it. Anyways, before we face Erica, Yuzu evolved into Weeping Bell. Yeah, that's about it. This should be a breeze. I mean, I do have Tangerine, you know, Fire Lizard. How hard can this be? We use Ember while they use Stun Spore and it lands. Okay, nothing I can't handle. But we do get slower, so they go first using Acid while we use Ember, not doing enough so she heals. We use Ember 2 times to KO. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting to take this much damage from her first Pokemon, but it is what it is at this point. She sends out Tangela and she gets a free turn because we couldn't move, so I switch it on Lemon and use Mega Punch, but it didn't do much. And then we get hit with a poison. Dang. Well, that sucks. So I switch again and it was not worth it. Lime dies within the minute. Well, I don't got another choice but to sit out Lemon again and spam Mega Punch where we get wrecked by a crit Giga Drain. I send out Yuzu and use 2 Acids to KO. She sends out her last Pokemon Vileplume and we go back and forth using Acid, but we ended up getting KO'd first. We pretty much lost. I guess this is what happens when you underestimate your opponent. Let's try again. This time we 2-shot Victory Bell with Ember and we still got paralyzed, but the main difference is that we got burned and we still landed Ember again even after being hit with a Stun Spore. She sends out Tangela and we use 2 Acids to KO. She sends out Vileplume and she missed Stun Spore twice, so I was finally able to spam Acid to the point I had her on red HP, but she finally lands the Stun Spore and also heals. We were able to land 1 more Acid before going down to 2 Acids. That's when Tangerine swoops in and fainted. Can you believe that? I can't believe that. Ain't no way. We couldn't move, so we got KO'd. That was just unlucky. I sent out Lemon and used Mega Punch to win the fight. Now that's how it was supposed to go. But all the strategies and past experiences flew out the window first attempt. Especially when I didn't send out Yuzu when we were getting slapped by a Tangela. After that, we do some story and we find Team Rocket's little hideout, solve some puzzles, forget where I'm supposed to go, and then solve some more puzzles. But eventually we find the boss and fight, and this is how it went. Oh, I guess I forgot to mention, I taught Lemon Water Pulse. So we one-shot Onyx and Rhyhorn, and then Lemon was putting in work on Kangaskhan by using Water Pulse and getting the confusion. So we ended up doing a bunch of damage before going down to a Mega Punch. So I sent out Yuzu and used 2 acids to KO. So that was fun, but now we head to the Pokemon Tower for some more story. We run into Red, but he was no trouble this time around. We face the ghost that turns out to be a Marowak, save the old man who apparently didn't want to be saved, and now we got a flute to wake up this Snorlax we're not gonna catch, where we have another problem. I'm trying to get our next Pokemon, but we're kinda in a pickle. So the Pokemon that I want to get is Slowpoke. Now, there's 2 ways of getting one. I can either get the HM Surf, and it would be a 100% chance in finding one, or using a Super Rod that only has a 1% chance in finding one. Now, obviously, we would do the one that uses Surf. The only problem being, we would have to beat the Poison type gym leader first. And that's the problem. I want to use Slowpoke for this gym, since Psychic is strong against Poison. So you know what we have to do. Fish. Luckily, it wasn't too bad. It took about 10 minutes or so, and we named him Orange. Now, the main reason why I never used one before was simply because it's a version exclusive to LeafGreen, and I always played Fire Red. And yeah, that's about it. Anyways, while we were facing the gym trainers, he evolved into Slowbro, and with that, let's face Koga. And yeah, there's not much to talk about because it was too easy. We used Psychic to take out all of his Pokemon, and if it wasn't enough, another Psychic. It was worth waiting the 10 minutes to find Orange. Now that we are done here, we go to Saffron and go to the dojo where we get another member being Hitmonlee that we named Lettuce. Yeah, I forgot I named him that. The main reason for not using Hitmonlee is a couple reasons actually. I always skip the dojo, I think it's ugly, and I think it's super ugly, and I just didn't think it would be that useful. Let's see if I'm wrong. Anyways, we do some more story in Silphco where Tangerine evolved into a Charizard. We also run into Red again, but that was another easy fight. So we move on to Giovanni and we take out Nidorino with Psychic, and then we use 2 Surfs to knock out Nidoqueen. But we end up getting poisoned, so I switch into Lettuce and get destroyed. So I sit out Orange again and use 2 Psychics to KO Kangaskhan. His last Pokemon is Rhyhorn and we use Surf to KO. Now that's just crazy. We practically took out his whole team with just Orange if we pretend I didn't send out Lettuce. And yeah, he's not looking good right now. With that, we can face Sabrina. With Lemon, we use 2 Mega Punches while they use a Future Sight. After that, we use a Water Pulse to knock out Kadabra. Her next Pokemon is Mr. Mime, and we use a Mega Punch, doing about half. Next turn, they use Barrier, raising her defense up. So when I use Mega Punch again, we don't KO. That's when Future Sight finally lands, doing massive damage. Next turn, we get taken out with a Psybeam. So I sent out Lime and used Thunderbolt, but it wasn't enough, and we get one shot with Psybeam. I sent out Tangerine, and that's when Sabrina used a potion, so Wing Attack didn't KO. After that, we used 2 Flamethrowers to knock her out. Her next Pokemon is Venomoth, and we one-shot it with Flamethrower. Her last Pokemon is Alakazam, and they set up a Future Sight before taking me down with Psychic. I sent out Orange and used 2 Surfs to KO, winning the fight, and it wasn't bad at all. I mean, yeah, she wiped out most of my team, but it didn't feel like I was gonna lose, if that makes sense. With that, we make our way to Cinnabar Island where the gym is locked and we have to go to the Pokemon Mansion to find a key. So you know what that means, YouTube time. We find the key no problem, and I thought to myself, you know, using Orange would be too easy. And since this gym is usually really easy to begin with, I'm gonna use Lemon, why not? I have Water Pulse on it. I wonder how far I can get. So I finally evolve her into a Clefable, and this is how it went. I use Water Pulse and do a good amount of damage, and then we get hit with a Fire Blast, and bruh, it did so much damage. I wasn't expecting that. We have Moonlight, so we were able to heal, but we ended up getting burned, so it wasn't looking great. With another Water Pulse, we KO. His next Pokemon is Ponyta, and this dude did not miss one Fire Blast. It was crazy. I thought the accuracy on that move is butt, so why does it keep landing? We spam Moonlight until it runs out of Fire Blast, and then use 2 Water Pulses to KO. Next is Rapidash, and as you can imagine, we finally get taken down with a Fire Blast. Honestly, I ain't even mad, I just feel bad at this point. I can't believe I made Lemon take all those blasts. I sent out Orange and use Surf to one-shot him. His next Pokemon is Arcanine, and we almost take it out with Surf, but he lives with 1 HP and uses Bite. But it wasn't enough, so next turn he heals, but this time we one-shot him with Surf, getting the win. I was hoping to knock out all of his Pokemon with Lemon, but it was just not possible. but Lemon did not disappoint, she held her own really well. On our way to Viridian City, I finally evolved Yuzu into a Victory Bell to hopefully put in some work. Let's see how it goes. We one-shot Rhyhorn, another Rhyhorn, and Dugtrio with Razor Leaf. When it was time to face Nidoqueen, we were able to use a Razor Leaf and Vine Whip before going down to a combo of Earthquake and Body Slam. I sent out Lemon for fun and used Water Pulse, but this just triggers a potion, so we spam Water Pulse until we eventually knock her out. He sends out his last Pokemon, Nidoqueen, and I switch into Orange and use a Psychic to one-shot him, winning the fight. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but the screen is actually kind of off for this last gym fight, and I didn't notice until after I won, so my bad if it looks a little weird. Alright, back to the video. I finally evolved Lime into Raichu, but personally, I'm still a hater. On our way to Victory Road, we run into Red and we fight. And we pretty much had a move for all of his Pokemon. So we used Thunderbolt to take out Pidgeot, we used Surf to take out Rhyhorn, and we used Razor Leaf on Blastoise, but he ended up switching into Growlithe, but I just switched into Lemon and used Water Pulse to knock him out. He sends out Execute, and this is where it gets crazy. From the moment I got Mega Punch on Lemon, Lemon has never missed a Mega Punch. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. During this fight, I was spamming Mega Punch where it actually missed for the first time. And I was genuinely shocked, like no way I actually missed. Now, I didn't get punished for it and we actually knocked it out next turn with a Mega Punch. But I thought I would bring it up because I actually used Lemon quite a bit during this whole playthrough. And I would be spamming Mega Punch so many times. So yeah, I just thought I would bring that up. His next Pokemon is Alakazam and we land a Mega Punch before going down to a Psychic. I send out Tangerine and land a Flamethrower to KO. But I'd be lying if I said we ain't take a stupid amount of damage from Psychic. He sends out his last Pokemon Blastoise and we use Fly before going down to her Water Gun. I send out Lime and use a Thunderbolt to KO, winning the fight. With that, we face our first Elite Four member, Lorelei. With Lime, we one-shot Dugong and Cloyster with Thunderbolt. After that, she sends out Slowbro and we use another Thunderbolt, but it wasn't enough. They use Amnesia, raising their special defense and heal. Next turn, this is where everything went wrong, and instead of using Thunder Wave, I misclicked and used Tail Whip instead. Next turn, we used Thunder Wave and Thunderbolt, but they used Yawn, so I switched into Yuzu and I was able to land a Razor Leaf before getting hit with Ice Beam that also froze us. That's rough. I switched back into Lime and used Thunderbolt to KO. She sends out Lapras and we use two Thunderbolts, almost knocking them out, while they use Ice Beam and then Surf, almost taking us out. They heal and we were able to land two more Thunderbolts before going down to an Ice Beam. The worst part is that they were on 1 HP, shaking my head. I sent out Tangerine and used Flamethrower to KO. Her last Pokemon is Jinx and we were able to use Flamethrower before getting hit with Lovely Kiss and Attract. So I switch into Orange and get put to sleep, but once we wake up, we use Surf to get the win. Next, we fight Bruno. So we start with Orange and we one-shot Onix with Surf. Next is Hitmonchan and we get hit with two Sky Uppercuts that left us with half health, before we were able to take it down with two Psychics. Next is Hitmonlee and we were able to land a Psychic before going down to a Mega Kick. I sent out Yuzu, but he's faster, landing a Mega Kick, doing more than half, before we were able to take it down with Secret Power. His next Pokemon is Onix and we outlive Earthquake, landing a Razor Leaf to one-shot him. His last Pokemon is Machamp and we try to land a Poison Powder before going down, but we miss. I send out Tangerine and use Fly, and then we get hit with a Scary Face, slowing us down. Since we're slower now, they use Bulk Up, raising their attack and defense, while we use Fly again, not doing much damage. So we get one shot with Rock Tomb and they got us good, I can't lie. With Lime, we use Thunderbolt to KO, winning the fight. The next member we fight is Agatha. We start with Orange again, and since we're slower, they land a Toxic first before we one-shot them with Psychic. Next is Golbat, so I switch into Lime and get hit with a Confuse Ray, but it didn't matter because next turn we land a Thunderbolt to get the KO. Next is Arbok and we switch into Orange and take a Sludge Bomb and then Bite before we are able to one-shot him with Psychic. Her next Pokemon is Gengar and they use Shadow Ball, KOing Orange. So I switch into Lemon and they use Sludge Bomb while we use Shadow Ball, doing a lot of damage, also lowering their special defense. They used another Sludge Bomb, but this time it was a crit, also poisoning us, leaving us with 11 HP. That was really close. We land the Shadow Ball to knock out Gengar, but the poison also took us out. Her last Pokemon is Haunter, and we switch into Lime and use Thunderbolt, but we weren't getting anywhere, so I switch into Tangerine and use Flamethrower to get the win. With that, we face our last Elite Four member, Lance, and this is how it went. With Lime, we one-shot Gyarados with Thunderbolt, we Thunder Wave Dragonair, and then switch into Tangerine and use 3 Dragon Claws to knock him out. He sends out Aerodactyl, so I switch into Orange, and he lands a Ancient Power, getting every boost under the sun. It was crazy. With 2 Surfs, we KO. His next Pokemon is Dragonair, and they use Outrage to knock out Orange. So I send out Yuzu and use Toxic and then tank an Outrage, and then they become confused. So I switch into Tangerine and land a crit Dragon Claw to KO. He sends out his last Pokemon, Dragonite, and we use 2 Dragon Claws before going down to 2 Outrages. We were close, but not close enough. We send out Yuzu and use Toxic, and he uses a full restore and then uses Wing Attack to knock us out. I send out Lime and we use Thunder Wave, preventing him from moving. So next turn we use Thunderbolt while they use a Hyper Beam, leaving us with 2 HP, giving us a free turn with Thunderbolt. Then since we're faster, we do it again to get the win. Alright, I guess Lime isn't too bad. Now that we've beaten the Elite Four, it's time to face our rival and champion, Red. I send out Orange and with 2 Ice Beams we KO, but we didn't go unscathed as we get hit by 2 Aerial Aces. He sends out Arcanine and we were so close to knocking him out twice, but we left him on 1 HP, and since I want to use Orange for later, I switch into Lettuce and get hit with a Bite. Next turn, we get hit with a Flamethrower before we land a Brick Break, knocking him out. He sends out Alakazam and Lettuce went crazy. First, we get lucky because they use Future Sight, giving us a chance to attack. So we use a crit high jump kick, leaving them on low HP. Next turn, they heal while we use another high jump kick. And I don't know why, but they use another Future Sight, but it failed. And we hit another crit high jump kick to KO. He sends out Executor and Future Sight finally landed, but we somehow live with 3 HP, landing a Mega Kick before going down to an Egg Bomb. Dude, Lettuce had some insane luck. I guess he wanted to be noticed because I didn't really use him since we got him. I send out Tangerine and use Flamethrower to knock out Executor. His next Pokemon is Blastoise, and I hate it already. I switch into Yuzu and they miss a Hydro Pump. Next turn, they set up Rain Dance while we use Toxic. We were doing pretty good at first, landing Razor Leaf, getting him on low HP. But he eats a berry and then Poison couldn't kill, causing him to use a full restore. Man, everything was going so well. They land a Hydro Pump, knocking us out before we could set up another Toxic. With that, I send out Lime and use a Thunderbolt to KO. He sends out his last Pokemon, Rhydon, and we use Brick Break before going down to an Earthquake. I sent out Orange, and what did I tell y'all? I told y'all I was gonna need him. Where Rhydon is faster and lands an Earthquake. Oh, that's whack. I sent out Tangerine and land a Dig before going down to a Rock Tomb. But it was part of my perfect plan because with Lemon, we were able to knock him out with one move being Water Pulse. And just like that, I'm a champion. If you like this video and want to see more stuff like this in the future, don't forget to subscribe and like the video as it really helps out the channel. And until next time, see ya.